Good evening and welcome to a 9 o'clock bulletin on this first Friday of the year. Top stories tonight. Tonight, the pain of the crash.
Nimepoteza watoto wanne na moja ni ndugu yangu mdogo.
Sorrow of the family who lost 6 relatives in Thursday's Judicial accident. Also tonight, Anthrax in Tharaka and Measles in Wajir.
That the 1st of December of cases of people having eaten meat which has not been inspected.
Residents and livestock are dying as national government and county health ministries trade blame. Ahead, did Moses Kuria hit out at the president?
I have never disrespected the head of state. I have never.
Well, the elders are unhappy.
The utterances were unfortunate and display total disregard and lack of respect to the head of state.
I don't regret the meaning. Don't even take me there. Which part of my statement did you understand? I have clarified everything.
New year, but same old Moses Kuria.
Naona katika hiyo clip pale alikuwa anaongea kule Thika ni kama alikuwa amechapa vikombe za pombe.
Case of a drunk mind speaking sober words.
Mimi niko kwa naibu ya rais kwa bedroom hapo katikati hapo.
And the frenzied search for political correctness and survival. It's Bullseye Friday.
NTV Weekend Edition with Mark Masai.
Glad you could join us. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Flora Atieno. The family of the 5 children and 1 man who died in a car crash along the Kericho-Kisumu highway are still in pain, understandably, and in shock and disbelief of the tragedy. The mother of the 4 siblings had even been admitted to hospital after she collapsed when she got to the hospital morgue. Charity Mwangi tells us of the family that has lost its kin to road carnage.
Sniffles, heavy hearts and tears sit under the growing cloud of tangible sorrow. Sorrow that is born of the events that left this wreckage, which tells of the tragic end to a season of merrymaking for the family of Ismail Otieno. It is the back-to-school season, marking the end of what was an enjoyable holiday stay for the 4 children with their grandfather and their uncle. As the old man drove them from Nyakach in Kisumu to Londiani, tragedy struck.
Sasa pia si tulieleza jana tukapigiwa simu kutoka huko ati mzee amepata ajali kwa barabara. Ikabidi tukimbie juu tulikuwa naye tukisherehekea Christmas vyema.
Jacob Oyugi's loss is deep. He has lost his father, his brother Frederick Ochieng, and his 4 children, Laura Oyugi, Sharon who was to join Form 4 this year, Agnes Omuya and Edmond Owino in a single blow.
Nilikuwa nataka kama inawezekana nisaidie kusafirisha mwili wapeleka nyumbani kwa
The children's mother collapsed upon arriving at the hospital's morgue and was admitted. She was released but is neither eating nor strong enough to speak. The tragic end to the lives of the 6 has left the family crushed, but amid it all, reminiscent of their loved ones.
Na alikuwa kijana wa furaha sana. Mnaweza kaa naye kutoka mchana mpaka jioni hutawahi kasirika.
Ni mtu alikuwa ni mtu social, ni mtu wa kusaidia, ni mtu wa kupeana advice. Alikuwa tu ni baba wa kila mtu.
Investigations are ongoing to determine what exactly transpired. It is, however, alleged that 77-year-old Otieno lost control and collided head-on with a lorry transporting soft drinks along the Kericho-Kisumu highway. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
And I'm sure you as a viewer join us as the NTV family in saying pole to this family. And to health concerns now. The Ministry of Health has cautioned the county governments on declaring disease outbreaks without following protocol. This happens in the wake of a call by the county government of Wajir to the national government and non-state agencies to step in to assist in curbing a measles outbreak in the county. The Director of Medical Services, Dr. Jackson Kioko, says that what is being experienced in Wajir is a reporting of active cases of the disease and not an outbreak of the disease.
On Wednesday, Wajir Governor Abdi Mohammed confirmed that there have been about 160 reported cases of measles and 2 reported deaths.
Come in and partner with the county so as to ensure speedy and satisfactory containment of the outbreak.
However, the State Ministry of Health has dismissed the claims that what is being experienced in Wajir is an outbreak. The Director of Medical Services, Dr. Jackson Kioko, says that the county has been recording 1 or 2 positive cases in a week, which cannot be termed as an outbreak. He argues that the surge in stated numbers could be as a result of similarity of some symptoms of measles and other diseases such as rubella. Our sources indicate that 4 out of 5 samples taken from Tajab in Wajir County received on Thursday turned positive for measles. These records speak in contrast to what the national government is saying. As the national and county governments continue issuing conflicting messages, the people remain at risk of losing lives and livelihoods. As it stands, many schools have not been opened owing to the spread of the illness.
Idadi ya wanafunzi wale ambao walifika leo wako wachache sana, na imesababishwa na hizi mambo zanasema nini outbreak ya measles. Shida hapa yuko na pale ndio maybe wazazi wameshinda kufika wanafunzi vizuri.
County health records indicate that there have been 2 deaths and about 160 reported cases as of Thursday since the first case was reported in September 2018. Towards the end of the last year, the government had announced measles outbreak in Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Nairobi, Kitui and Murang'a that were controlled through ring immunization of children at risk. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
And that's not all in terms of health concerns around the country. The national government says that there is no human being who has been infected with anthrax in Tharaka, despite visible sores on people's bodies and 2 men having been infected last week. The county government, however, confirms that there are people who have been infected. Well, aside from this conflict, the county says it has embarked on vaccination of livestock in areas that have reported cases of anthrax. However, with infections and animal deaths, is this action coming too little too late? Well, the concern at the fore of Kenyans' minds is that if they are safe and not whether or not the national government or the county government is correct, they should stop the blame game and definitely make sure that Kenyans are safe. Whatever the case, if you are going to consume meat in whichever county that you are in, make sure that it is inspected.
The open manifestation of anthrax infections on people coming after the admission to hospital of 2 men in Tharaka has been a point of concern. Some of those who have the marks of infection have been going about their activities without seeking treatment. Even with this visible evidence, the national government says there are no human beings who have been infected with the virus in the country, standing in a stark contrast with the county government.
Realized there's an identified outbreak in Logota area, and as we talk, the team is on the ground mobilizing, and the vaccination is going to take place simultaneously today and over the weekend so that we isolate those areas.
This situation is ideally avoided through vaccination. However, residents say that there was no prior vaccination.
Daktari tukiwaita wakati tuko na shinda ya ng'ombe imekufa, mbuzi imekufa, daktari anatuambia tumieni haina shinda na sisi tunatumia, alafu sisi tunaendelea tu kukula shinda ya vidonda.
County governments have on a number of instances been accused of acting too late in terms of routine vaccination to prevent spread of zoonotic diseases. Residents claim of experiencing the situation for a period of 2 months now, leading to loss of lives and livestock, and the impact is still spreading.
That the 1st of December of cases of people having eaten meat which has not been inspected, and they were hospitalized, and the Department of Agriculture through Veterinary Department took appropriate to investigate, and they realized that in consultation with the public health, and they realized that there was an outbreak of isolated outbreak of anthrax in Magondo area of Midero.
However, reports indicate that veterinary services have not gotten to some affected villages in the area, even as the county sweeps through to salvage the situation.
And on the crime beat, police have arrested 3 suspects in connection with the murder of former Kilifi Deputy Governor Kenneth Makombo Kempto, who was killed on December 12, 2018 at his Nyali house. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations used forensic evidence to nab the suspects. Detectives recovered a mobile phone which was stolen from his house help during the incident. Officers from Nairobi flew into Mombasa on Thursday and made the arrest in Kisumu Ndogo, Nyali on Friday. Authorities have been searching for suspects for close to a month. Coast Police boss Joseph Nganga said the probe into Kempto's murder has intensified and more arrests will be made. The motive of the killers, however, remains unclear. Patrick Wekesa, an AP constable at Kaptimbor police post, is believed to have stabbed himself twice in the right and left side of his chest. This after he was being transferred from manning the gate at the Baringo governor's official residence this afternoon as part of normal changes. Wekesa allegedly locked himself in his house at Kaptimbor, where he stabbed himself before being rescued by fellow officers following screams that, of course, he made. He is now admitted at the Baringo County Hospital, where he is receiving treatment. A quick recovery to you, Constable. Now to Siasa. Gatondo South MP Moses Kuria says his recent remarks on the president's alleged failure to develop Mount Kenya region were taken out of context. He says he was directing his anger to Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waitito and Women Representative Gathoni Wamoshoba as he offered a conditional apology to the president. So was this just local politics at play, or there could be a growing disquiet in the region who feel dissatisfied with the government that they say they voted for overwhelmingly? Silas Apollo with the latest on their Kiambu politics.
When he took to the stage to address the crowd on New Year's Eve, Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria made statements that were considered taking a swipe at President Uhuru Kenyatta over development in the region, or rather the ignoring of it. But now the MP says his remarks were taken out of context.
I have never disrespected the head of state. Even in any case, any word that I may have uttered could have been misconstrued in any bad way. I offer my profuse apologies to the head of state and to anyone who would want to misconstrue.
Statements which he made in the presence of Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu were directed at the county boss and the area woman representative Gathoni Wamoshoba, who he accuses of mishandling the priority issues in the county.
When it comes to Kiambu, the leadership of Kiambu somehow directs the president to go and issue a certificate to alcoholics. There are so many places they could have taken the president. So they're letting the president down.
Kuria threw the alcoholic accusations back to the court of the two leaders.
That they are now competing among each other. Nani atakuwa na walevi wengi? Nani ako na walevi wanono? Sasa ni vita ya walevi between Wamoshoba na Waititu. Hiyo ndio kazi tuko nayo.
The Kikuyu Council of Elders accused the legislator of disrespect, adding that his remarks were reckless.
We to categorically state that those reckless and irresponsible utterances by our MP were purely his personal opinions and not the opinion of the elders of Gatundu South constituency.
Inaonekana yeye alikuwa amelewa. Wakati alikuwa huko alikuwa mlevi kidogo. Kwa hivyo awachane na mambo ya pombe wakati anasumuza.
But some residents have supported the MP, saying that the president should do as much in his backyard as he has done in other regions.
Nasikia naenda pahali ingine, baba anaenda kutekeleza huko, lakini hapa hatuoni maendeleo hata kidogo.
Tulipiga kura na matarajio makuu, so tungeomba anapokumbuka wengine pia arudishe nyumbani, aangalie maana east west home is the best. Critics feel that the divided narrative by various people in the same region may point to greater underlying issues even as succession battles heat up this year. Silas Apollo, NTV.
I know we're taught in church not to swear by God's name, but sometimes the politics in Kenya leaves you going gai. And there's more of what you can expect of that on Bullseye a bit later on to something quite sad, and I'm sure you probably saw it on one of your social media platforms. The National Authority for the Campaign Against Drugs and Substance Abuse, NACADA, and the Nyeri Deputy Governor have offered to help the high school girl who was caught on camera intoxicated while making her way back to school. The recent video still continues to stir debate amongst Kenyans, with some shifting the blame, citing the lack of a moral fabric in today's society. According to NACADA, over 70% of youth engage in drugs and substance abuse, leading to a majority dropping out of school. NTV's Helen Aura took to the streets to seek Kenyans' opinions on youth and substance abuse.
Imagining that was my daughter. You know, you leave your children to yayas, to nannies, to what, you know. You don't take care of your kids. You don't mentor your kids. You don't have time for your kids. You know, I guess people are so busy in Nairobi. You know this, but it's just a sad state of affairs.
As parents, we are supposed to be very keen on what we do in front of our children, because they take we are the role models. And when we do things like drinking or smoking or such things in front of the kids, they take after us, they copy that. There are things you should literally, even if you do them, just don't do it in front of your children.
Naweza sema ni both sides, si ati ni wazazi peke yake, because pia sisi tunajua alcohol sipo, unaenda shule. So huwezi enda shule na expect kusoma na wewe drunkard. So pia mwalimu anakufunza atabaki like, okay, kutakuwa ile doubt.
Wasasi lazima tuangalie ya kwamba mtoto anaporudi shule umpatie pesa kiasi na umuonyeshe anaenda kutumia hii pesa kwa kitu gani. Na tukiwa nyumbani tusikunywe hata watoto nao kaanza kuonja pombe yetu.
Parents, we have absentee fathers and absentee mothers. So these young children, young girls and young boys are acquiring behaviors that they emulate from the society.
Well, a team from the NACADA and representatives, of course, from well-wishers across the country will be visiting the girls' home in Karatina, and Helen Aura should be following up on this story tomorrow. We take a short break here on NTV Weekend Edition. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition, and we continue with some concerns from students elsewhere. More than 90 students who sat their 2018 Kenya Certificate of Secondary School examinations from a school in Bungoma County are yet to receive their results. Their parents are demanding answers from the Ministry of Education as to what's caused the delay. Sharon Baranga with the details.
An eerie silence loud enough to communicate that all is not well at St. Anthony Naburerea Secondary School in Bungoma County. 93 candidates from this institution sat the 2018 KCSE exams, but to date, they have not received their results.
Hata kama shule ina shida, haiwezi affect maisha ya watoto wengi, affect the whole community kwa sababu ya kosa la mtu mmoja ama la wale waliosimamia mtihani.
The missing results have caused anger and concern among parents, students and teachers.
Hata wenye walifanya mtihani saa hata wakuli. Wengine hata walali kwa nyumba. Saa tunashindwa hao watoto wanakaa wapi. Na tunaona kwamba hao watoto wanapoendelea hivi hata wengine wanapoteza maisha.
Tunaendelea kuambiwa tungoje. Tuliambiwa tungoje. Mwaka umeisha, tumeanza mwaka mwingine. Bado hatujapata matokeo na tunaambiwa tu tungoje.
A few students from the other classes have attended school for the first term, but a number of them are yet to report back.
Hatuelewi ni nini, serikali itusaidie. Kwa sababu sisi kama wazazi tunaumia. Kwa sababu hata fees imekuwa stress, hatujakuwa na pesa. Tumeng'ang'ana sana kusomesha hawa watoto mpaka wakafika form 4. Na wasipopewa matokeo mtakuwa mmetuua na watoto wetu.
Education stakeholders in the county remain silent over the matter, but the county director of education, Jacob Onyego, promised to look into the case. During the announcement of the national exam results last month, the Education Cabinet Secretary said that not all candidates who sat the exams will be receiving their results, as some centers were being investigated. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Well, this will ruffle some feathers in the transport sector. The government has today maintained that it will not renew licenses of all 14-seater Matatus operating within Nairobi. The registration will, however, not affect 14-seater Matatus operating in other areas across the country. There are plans to introduce high-capacity buses in Nairobi, a move aimed at easing congestion in the city. Lilian Kiarie had a sit-down with NTSA Director General Francis Meja and filed this report.
Reports of failure to renew the licenses of 14-seater Matatus had created jitters among operators across the country, with some leaders coming out openly to oppose the move.
Sisi hatujui Meja ametoa hiyo mambo yake wapi? Hiyo amri yake hatujui imetoka wapi?
But today, the Director General of the National Transport and Safety Authority has come out to clear the air, saying that the regulations will only affect 14-seater PSVs that get into Nairobi City, and operators were told these 8 years ago.
There's no total there's no blanket ban. We are saying for Nairobi, all those 14-seaters, low-capacity buses that want licenses renewed, that comes to CBD, we are not renewing those licenses. This issue of the low capacity, let's not call them 14-seater, low capacity occupancy, in the city of Nairobi began way back in 2006. The government gave the PSV operators 5 years from 2010. And there was a legal notice that was published thereafter to say after the expiry of this 5 years period, there will be no renewal of new PSVs, low capacity, that will be, licenses will not be renewed in urban areas.
The move that was informed by Legal Notice 179 of December 31st, 2014 came into effect on the 1st of January. NTSA has only extended protection of the order to 24 SACCOs that obtained temporary court orders stopping the regulator from denying them licenses. So, what is the authority planning for those already operating these vehicles?
If we want an efficient public transport system, we must move towards high occupancy buses. Not even just the BRT, even light trains. The congestion we see in this city, we must move towards mass rapid transport.
To access the central business district, commuters will need to make a stop and board a high-capacity bus.
We have now gone through a new whole cycle of public participation. We have finished that process now, so we are compiling our reports and we shall submit it again to Parliament.
Major insists that the move will not be as significant as the authority has not been registering such matatus accessing Nairobi city since 2010.
There are not many, because no new entrants have come in since 2010.
Further, with cases of accidents caused by elderly drivers on the rise, the authority is now in the process of introducing new regulations that will see, among other issues, a cap on the age limit of drivers put in place. Majority of Kenyans rely on the more than 37,000 14-seater matatus to commute on a daily basis. The comprehensive ruling by the High Court on this issue in February is that set to be of significant impact in the transport industry. Lillian Kuria, NTV.
From modes of transport to documentation for transport, and have you felt frustrated by the new requirements recently published by the Immigration Department for replacement of old passports with electronic ones? I surely have. Tonight, the Director of Immigration, Alexander Muteshi, says revised requirements will be rolled out in 3 months, following numerous complaints on the requirements which Kenyans were not eager to follow. Muteshi confirms that the e-passport deadline will be extended from the set date of 31st August this year. NTV's Mel Miendo spoke with the immigration boss and filed this report.
When the Department of Immigration posted a list of requirements for the electronic passport applications, Kenyans on social media flooded comments complaining that the requirements were unnecessary. Immigration wanted Kenyans to each provide an original ID and a copy, original birth certificate and a copy, recommender ID copy, online filled forms, 3 invoices, 3 passport-size photos, and parents' ID copies. Many on social media wondered why a Kenyan citizen needed recommendation from another citizen. According to Director of Immigration, Alexander Muteshi, it is for security purposes.
Some non-Kenyans may be trying also to apply to get our passports. So the issue of the recommender coming in is to ensure that the person whom we are giving that passport is actually a Kenyan.
The recommender is expected to be a person of integrity and can be a civil servant, lawyer, doctor, or religious leader. Another complaint was just why the documents required by immigration are similar to those provided when one applies for their national ID. This, Muteshi confirms, will be a point of review.
The fact that you have an ID, then also it really shows clearly you gave those documents. That's why you got an ID. So these are some of the issues which we can relook and review and see whether we need to do away with them.
Currently, there are talks in government to integrate various key documents such as IDs and birth certificates within specific government institutions for ease of access in rendering services to Kenyans. The immigration online portal is also expected to be operational in 2 months and will allow Kenyans access their application status. Online forms will also be reviewed to ensure practicality and less repetition.
You know, sometimes if you are 60 and 70 years old and sometimes you are being asked, these details, they may not be available. So we are just trying to find out, are there ways we can improve on these forms.
The expectation for Kenyans renewing their passports is to receive it in 2 weeks, while new applicants wait for about a month. This has, however, not been the case, with many Kenyans having to bribe immigration officials.
Most of these complaints which Kenyans have raised are being collated, and we shall look at them and see how best we can improve on them so that we reduce some of these issues.
At just 5 months in office, the Director of Immigration wants to do away with what Kenyans have been accustomed to: long queues when they are applying for their passports. Come next week, we are expecting that they will come up with a complaints office here in Nyayo House where Kenyans can come and directly complain about issues with their passports. Globally, Kenyan e-passport application centers are based only in Washington, London, Paris, Berlin, Dubai and South Africa. However, provisions are yet to be made for those living elsewhere.
We are currently exploring options to see if there are other farms who can be able to provide these services to Kenyans instead of having Kenyans either travel to these centers or travel here to get a passport. So it's an issue now we're actually exploring.
Mel Miendo, NTV.
Thank God for the sanity to review some of those rules which were honestly ridiculous. And as some people say, Ateni Mungu aitwe Mungu. We take another break here on NTV Weekend Edition. I'll be back shortly. Welcome back. The Kenya Railways has raised the prices of transporting cargo via the standard gauge railway following the end of a promotional tariff that was aimed at driving freight traffic from road to rail. Transporting, a 20-foot container from Mombasa to Nairobi will now cost about 50,000 shillings, up from 35,000 shillings. A 40-foot container weighing not more than 20 tons will cost 70,000 shillings, while a similar container with a heavier load will cost approximately 75,000 shillings. Under the promotional tariff, 40,000 shillings was sufficient to transport the 40-foot container. The cargo business is the cornerstone of the SGR as far as revenue is concerned so far. The former Chief Magistrate at the Milimani Court, Daniel Mudanyi Ochenja, has sued the Judicial Service Commission for unlawful dismissal. The judicial officer was sacked in 2014 under the reign of former Chief Justice William Mutunga. Ochenja, through his lawyer Jason Okemwa, told Vacation Judge Justice Byron Ongayo that he was dismissed from service without being given the opportunity to defend himself over an allegation of misconduct. The lawyer told the court that his client was interdicted while he was on leave and was not given reasons for his sacking. The search for aid worker Sylvia Romano has entered its second month, with government agencies urging Tana Delta residents to volunteer information on her whereabouts. Inspector General Police Joseph Boynet confirmed that some arrests have been made, but no substantial information has been received.
23-year-old Silvia Romano, an Italian national, was abducted on the night of November 20th, 2018 by gunmen in Chakama, Kilifi County. In the same month, a multi-agency security team of police and army units sealed off Boni Forest and areas bordering Lamu, Garissa and Tana River counties in search of the bandits. However, with just over a month into the search, Sylvia's whereabouts still remain unknown.
We have made some arrests, but the effort to look for that lady are still ongoing. We have not given up and will not give up until we find her.
An appeal has been made to residents in Tana Delta.
Ningeomba mtu yoyote ambaye kwa na habari, tafadhali tujulishe, tafadhali muwe na uhusiano mwema na askari. Kwa hivi sasa najua hakuna askari yoyote atakuja kusema huyu ndiye ameniambia.
Na yule amechukua msichana, kama shida ni pesa, polepole akuje, mimi nitamlipa hiyo pesa. Sawa sawa.
All-night activities in the area have since been banned for police to monitor the movements of the suspected abductors.
Wale wanaendesha pikipiki usiku, ifika usiku hatutaki kusikia movements za pikipiki. Kwa magari yote sasa kwa roadblock ya Minjila ikifika saa 12 kuanzia saa 1 hakuna magari kupita kwa roadblock. Kama ni malori zitalala hapo.
Melmiendo, NTV.
It's 9:35. I know you're waiting for Bullseye. That will be after the break. Something is cooking in central Kenya, and alcohol, it seems, has everything to do with it. A drunken mind, they say, speaks sober words, a phrase some in the region are latching on. It's all about the fact that their cash crops is no longer profitable, and as Emmanuel Juma reports on Bullseye, new year, but old ways persist amid a frenzied search for political correctness and survival.
Mimi niko kwa naibu ya rais kwa bedroom hapo katikati hapo.
Who is this man who lives in another man's bedroom?
Ati mbunge wa Kimilili anaitwa Didmas Barasa.
And we hear he spends most of his time addressing barazas.
Saizi ukimutafuta utasikia ameenda kule Vihiga kutangatanga na Ruto.
What's the baraza about on this day, baraza?
Hata kama ni hao vijana kuoa wanawake mbili na wale wanaamka asubuhi wanapiga kura, tutafanya hivyo, tuko tayari kufanya mipango hiyo.
Utasimamisha namna gani mbwa ambaye aliye njaa kutopiga kelele ili mtu ambaye ana mfupa itupie?
Oops, never mind.
Hiyo ndio mimi nataka viongozi wenzangu.
And mama, we hear there are different types of political dogs.
Tuna ile umbwa mzuri sana, inajua kunusa sana. Tuko na ingine inajua kuuma. Na tuko na ingine inajua kutisha.
I wonder what types of dodgy character baraza could be.
Mimi niko kwa naibu ya rais kwa bedroom.
That I would say could pass for a guard dog. The hounds are out and the hunt is on. The son of Samuel is hunting hard. And Agwambo too is targeting something. Something we do not know yet, but we can only assume that when he gets it, it would enable him assume this kind of position.
Wacha Raila atembee tu akifikiria, ngoja utaona. Hey.
During these early hunting days, arrows are thrown in numbers. Some land.
Musali akuja ambie wakulima wa miwa wale walikuwa wanapeleka Mumias Sugar Company, aseme yeye alilipwa kama nani 380 million Kenya shillings.
Honestly, that is absolute nonsense. There's nothing to say to that. I won't respond to nonsense.
This fire is intense to the west of Kenya. Call it friendly fire.
Wanasiasa wenzangu.
It's all about branding. See, now that doctorate is political arsenal. It has assumed its rightful place in the order of things.
Welcome to the club of PhD. Pata udaktari. Don't go to the university to teach. Become the president and teach us.
But it was truly a happy new year for Moses.
Basi leo hata nikiwaambia jambo msilichukulie serious sana.
Say it and let's decide.
Mfikirie sana. Mfanye nini? Hii mambo kazi yetu ni kupiga kura. Baada ya kupiga kura, maendeleo tunapatiana kwingine. Hiyo ujinga tuache. Adio ujinga tufanya nini? Hiyo ujinga tufanya nini?
Moses hapendi ujinga. Now that we take seriously.
Ninaona katika hiyo clip pale alikuwa anaongea kule Thika ni kama alikuwa amechapa vikombe za pombe. Na kwa sababu mimi ninafanya kazi ya kuwasaidia vijana ambao wamelewa sana, ningetaka kumuuliza kwa heshima rafiki yangu MK, tafadhali kuja kule kwa Mama Care Rehabilitation Center, nitakuwekea kitanda lakini hakuna special beds, nitakupatia ordinary bed, ulale hapo siku 5, siku 7, upatiwe dawa na chakula, uache kuongea matope wakati umelewa.
They are now competing among each other. Nani atakuwa na walevi wengi? Nani ako na walevi wanono? Sasa ni vita ya walevi between wa Mushopa na Waititu. Hiyo ndio kazi tuko nayo. Jameni.
You'll not push Moses into the wilderness. To understand his frustration, listen to this.
Huko kwetu Gatundu tunasemaga tuko na cash crop mbili. Sio kahawa na sio majani chai. Cash crop ni kuproduce viongozi kama marais.
And cash crops bring forth cash, rewards, maendeleo. not just rehabilitation centers for drunkards, right?
Viongozi washenzi.
We need divine intervention. This is when he's really good. Choir Master Dr. William Samuel Arap Ruto. By the way, there has also been this debate about numbers and resources.
Most of you are busy having good time in bus. We are busy in Martha's bedroom.
And I've received a lot of messages saying that people in Northeastern have 7 children, 9 children. Fine, that's great.
Anything Moses Kuria regrets this early in the year?
I don't regret the meaning. Don't even take me there. Which part of my assessment did you understand? I have cried if I know everything.
Boom! Emmanuel Juma, Bullseye, NTV.
There's always some comedy from our political scene, and not so much to laugh about in DRC, as the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has raised concerns over increasing tension in that country ahead of the announcement of provisional results on January 6th. This comes 5 days after the government shut down the internet, a move interpreted by the opposition as a way to manipulate the poll outcome. At the same time, leaders from DRC's Catholic Church say they know who has won Sunday's presidential election and are demanding that the Electoral Commission publish accurate results.
According to the United Nations, pockets of violence and injuries have been reported in the DRC, and intimidation and harassment against journalists, opposition candidates, and human rights defenders continues to take place.
And this being a very sensitive, as I said, very tense period, we are concerned that these efforts to silence dissent could backfire considerably when the results are announced. And we are watching carefully, and we are calling on all sides to refrain from the use of violence.
This comes hours after the National Episcopal Conference of Congo, SENCO, appealed to the Election Commission to release accurate results, alluding to knowing who won the December 30th presidential vote based on its findings from more than 40,000 observers.
Consider only the results of manual counting that had been published and displayed in front of polling and counting offices. Secondly, make sure that the consistency of checks at the local level of counting centers are carried out in the presence of observers and witnesses. Thirdly, publish the results of every polling stations.
Election observers say if the church's count points to victory for an opposition candidate, it could set up a standoff with outgoing President Joseph Kabila's ruling coalition, which has insisted its man is poised to win. On its part, the Independent National Election Commission says the low number of voting tally sheets received is likely to affect the announcement.
We don't know how long it will take to compile the results, but there's a lot of work to do. Even if they say they will give us results on Sunday, we don't think it will be possible.
Western powers, including the United States, have demanded that accurate election results be released, warning of sanctions against anyone who undermines the DRC's fledgling democracy. Gladys Gashanja, NTV.
Well, let's hope it doesn't end in violence. Sports to expect after the break with Ida Waringa.
Now, Gor Mahia coach Hassan Oktay has hailed the signing of legendary Kenyan footballer Dennis Oliech as a masterstroke due to Oliech's European pedigree as well as ability to motivate the upcoming players in the dressing room. Oliech trained today for the first time as a Kogalo player, and Warothe Kiru, who was at Camp Toyoyo to watch him, has filed this report.
Dennis Oliech's smile told it all. A delight to be back doing what he does best, playing football. Oliech signed for Gor Mahia on Wednesday, and on Friday at 1 p.m. he took to the Camp Toyoyo pitch to train for the first time as a Kogalo player. Much has been said about the surprise signing, given that Oliech last played competitively 2 years ago, but his new boss can only see the positives.
Someone has European experience and legend is beneficial. We have a lot of young strikers in this football club, and they can learn from him a lot. They can take his advice and they can improve.
Oliech, who is also known as Kajole or Wood Mary, which means son of Mary, has attributed his signing for Gor as a fulfillment of his late mother's wish for him to play for Gor Mahia. Oliech last played in the KPL 10 years ago as a Mathare United player. Incidentally, Gor tackled current league leaders Mathare on Sunday at Kasarani before facing Posta Rangers in Kisumu next Wednesday. And fans are eager to see him in action wearing the green and white.
Soon. You guys hurry up too much. First thing first, I have to look after my player. And he didn't play 1.5 seasons. He didn't play competitive games. Slowly he's going to come in. Maybe this week, maybe following week, I'm going to use him.
Gor Mahia, who defended their title last season, have had a slow start this season. 2 wins and 2 losses has them lying 9th on the log. But the new coach feels there is no cause for concern.
We haven't got any problems. It's fantastic. Gor is Gor. Gor is always strong. And we're gonna get better. And as a coach, I start to knowing my players now.
One player who Kenyans will get to know once again is Dennis Oliech, and he seems to be ready to enjoy the ride. Warothe Kiru, NTV.
And after Dennis Oliech's first training with Gor Mahia, all eyes will be on Kasarani on Sunday as the match pitting the defending champions against current Kenyan Premier League leaders Mathare United kicks off at 3 p.m. On Saturday, Sofapaka and Tusker FC will face off at Machakos in the day's only game. Back to Sunday, and Machakos will host a double-header with KCB taking on Kariobangi Sharks before AFC Leopards play Nzoia. Bandari and Sony Sugar will go head-to-head at Mbaraki. Both teams are separated by just 1 point on the log. Kakamega Homeboys will be hoping for all 3 points against a lowly placed Posta Rangers at Buhungu after Vihiga play Mount Kenya United at the same venue. Chemelil will play host to Western Stima as Ulinzi welcome Zukericho to Afraha. Still on the KPL, the newly promoted side KCB have suspended Ezekiel Akwana and Elvis Ayan from positions as assistant coaches with immediate effect after a poor start to the season. The two, who are former tacticians at AFC Leopards and Sofapaka respectively, have been accused by the club of sabotaging the technical bench led by Frank Ouna. The Bankers have registered just 1 point from a possible 15, leaving them second from bottom on the league standings. According to a letter obtained by Nation Sport, team captain Dennis Orenge has also been suspended for allegedly inciting older players against new recruits. The fight against crime and drugs amongst the youth in Mombasa has been stepped up a notch higher thanks to a campaign by the Reach Out Center Trust, an NGO focusing on rehabilitation and reintegration of addicts. Through the Pamba Rojo initiative, a football program held at Old Town Mombasa, over 300 youth, mostly aged 20 and below, have been able to interact and address addiction issues through sport. The age group has been linked to high crime incidents in the area, while Executive Director Taib Abdirahman said those aged 20 to 25 years have started shunning drug abuse, and the challenge now faces teenagers. Crossing borders now, and it was billed as a title-deciding match, and the top of the table clash pitting defending champions Manchester City and title contenders Liverpool lived up to its billing, with City emerging 2-1 winners. After the match, Jurgen Klopp of Liverpool and Pep Guardiola of Manchester City had this to say.
Reduce the gap, still they are in top in the table, still with 4 points.
And I'm sure the viewers agree that we definitely need more ladies just like you who do a good job on the sports desk, because we all know about the sports desk in our newsrooms. But not to say anything about our newsroom, they're doing a good job in welcoming you to the fold. Thank you for that. Thank you to the team behind the scenes that have made this possible, and thank you to Flora Tieno for the sign language interpretation. Have yourself a good weekend and good night.